U.S. consumer confidence for February came in at 130.7. That was versus the 132.6 that was expected. That comes on the heels of the stock market having its worst day in 2 years, with the Dow dropping more than 1,000 points. Joining us now, former White House Communications Director Anthony Scaramucci, along with Ken Van Leeuwen. He's managing director of Van Leeuwen Company. Thanks for being here, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Ken, I just want to start with you about the market reaction that we have seen. Not surprising, perhaps, that consumer confidence is off a little bit, what with coronavirus concerns. Everybody's trying to figure out what happened yesterday. Because, yes, coronavirus seems to be, spreading, worsening, but we've been getting bad headlines for the past month.
I think it was, frankly, when it hit into Italy, I think that really brought it home, more that it was now spreading into different countries other than just China. I think the Italian reaction, I think that really prompted what we saw. And I think yesterday could have been a confluence of events. It could have been coronavirus. It could have been strong dollar. It could have been Bernie Sanders had a good weekend. There were a lot of factors. So, yesterday was maybe the headline was coronavirus.
And yet you point out there's opportunity. I mean, we've heard people say, look, buy on a dip, although others are saying this isn't the bottom of the dip yet. Where do you see the opportunity, if you see opportunity?
I think we see, for example, there's some big themes that we see. Cloud computing is one thing. I think nothing's going to slow that down. So we're looking at places like Amazon, Microsoft, Adobe are some good examples of that. The cashless society, even though that, MasterCard today forecasts that they could be down a little bit. Hey, that we still see strength in that area for sure.
So speaking about Bernie this week, right, we have the debates tonight in South Carolina. We have the primaries this Saturday, and then, of course, Super Tuesday next week. How much investor panic do you think that we could see if, on top of coronavirus fears, we then also have Bernie Sanders if he comes out and does really well in the primaries?
Well, first of all, I work with individual investors. No one believes Bernie can win. But, we can't plan for that. So I think that what we just have to do is be mindful of it. I mean, it just harkens back to, if you think about, in the beginning of October when Elizabeth Warren started to decline in the polls, the market kind of took off from there. So could the opposite happen? I'm not sure.
Anthony, we're going to dig more into sort of election predictions in a little bit, but in terms of the effect on the markets, because you talk to not only a lot of people in politics, but a lot of market participants. What's the sentiment right now around what's going on in the election?
Well, I echo Ken. I think there's a lot of uncertainty, but I'm a little bit of a contrarian, so I can lay out for you the case for a Bernie Sanders electoral success.
Right.
If you think Bernie Sanders can't win, you're not paying close enough attention to the Bernie Sanders movement, the same way people were not paying close enough attention to the Donald Trump movement in 2016. So he absolutely can win. And so I do think that there's a Bernie Sanders virus in the market as well as a coronavirus.
But this effect on the markets, the Democrats would have to take the Senate and maintain the House if Sanders won to enact the policies that they want to, in fact, if any Democrat, I think 7 out of 8 Democrats want to enact a transaction tax on equities.
Correct.
They have to get the Senate to pass it, don't they?
They do. And that's one of the big challenges, right? Because in a lot of the states where the senators are up for re-election, they're Republican states. So that's our concern. That's the thing we're watching at also. But I believe what Anthony's saying is, we have to be mindful. We can't take the odds-on favorite any longer.
Look, you've got extreme climate, and you now have extreme political climate. And so you have a lot of variables out there that no one really can predict. So you can't sit here and say there's no way that he can win and it's going to be a landslide. And I know there's networks that are saying that. I don't believe that. Last point, I think this is a very important point. You buy the news of him winning because he won't be able to do anything, and markets love the fact that people can't do anything. Okay, so they're going to be selling into his win, and you're going to be buying the fact that he's inaugurated because nothing will happen under his administration.
Well, and Ken, I want to go back to what we talked about in the beginning, which is the U.S. consumer, because we have had investor after investor come on here and say, well, the U.S. consumer is doing great. that consumer confidence number going down a little bit. It's still on a relative basis a high number. Does the U.S. consumer get hit in more decided fashion, whether it be the election or coronavirus? Should we be worried about the U.S. consumer?
I don't think you should be worried, but I think you should be concerned. You should be mindful of it, because I think what's going to happen is, travel will certainly be cut down if something happens. People won't fly. They won't go on vacation. They won't take a cruise, possibly. They might not go to a destination where there's a lot of people. We don't really know what the ripple effects would be, but, they're not going to slowing them down to buy a computer. But again, travel could be severely impacted.
All right, Ken, hopefully they can get the computer if the supply chain's not affected.
You bet.
Ken Van Leeuwen, thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for being here. Appreciate it.
Hey investors, Zach Guzman here. Are you interested in learning more about the markets and getting the latest financial news? Well, then click right here to subscribe to our Yahoo Finance YouTube channel. Get the latest up-to-the-minute market analysis, big interviews in the world of finance, and information on how to manage your money every day wherever you are.